What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Go Talk with Marcus, powered by Podex, fueled by GoFuel, episode 75 of season 2. The very first episode of the 2022-23 NBA season. With me is JT and the Don. What's up, fellas? How we doing?
Doing well,
Good,
man. Thanks for having us on. How you doing?
I'm doing it. We all know that I prefer Don over JT, so I don't know.
Hey man,
I appreciate that.
I knew this was a package deal, so that's why I was like, look, if he's coming on, I know I kind of get an invite, so I appreciate it.
Yo, that's a way to start the show. That's a way to
He already
start the
told
show.
me that's how the show is gonna go. But you know what? I like that because because no matter how many of you guys take me on, it's still an L.
Is it?
It is. It's
we'll,
serious.
We'll reassess at the end of the show who's walking home with an L and who's not. A lot to kind of unpack, a lot to talk about. Let's start off with the defending NBA champions who successfully defeated the Los Angeles Lakers last night on ring night. The Warriors, it seems like every time there is a season, every time there's a season of basketball being played, as long as the Warriors are healthy from game one, they will be in the finals, if not winning the finals come June. It seems like it's a foregone conclusion. JT, are the Warriors going to repeat as champs this year?
Well, what's your definition of repeating? Is that like winning it all or just getting to the NBA
finals? Are the Golden State Warriors going to beat?
No, because I got to deal with every show. Look at that.
Warriors going to be NBA champions.
No, I get it. The reason I asked that is because I feel like it's the sexy thing to say, like, oh, yeah, they will repeat. The West still sucks. Like you look at the Western Conference. I think at least three teams from last year got worse, or they had no growth from last year. So Jazz, Suns, and Mavs, like they got better. They didn't get better, or they had no growth. And then I just look at the Warriors and like theoretically they're supposed to be better, but like everything tells me they should not repeat. Like they've played so many extra games. They're older. Like I don't know if the young guys are as good as everyone thinks they are, but like at the end of the day, the West still sucks. And the only thing that's standing in the Warriors' way is their own chemistry issues. So just by sheer odds, I'm going to say no, they don't repeat, but I would not be shocked if they get back there.
Okay. Don, do you think the Warriors are going to repeat this year?
I am rooting for them, like pulling for them, but I hate doing this to start the show. I almost kind of agree with JT. I don't think they will. I think everything fell into place for them last year. The Lakers and Clippers were injured. The Nets, a lot of turmoil. The Celtics were young. The Bucks and the Suns lost, and the Warriors didn't need to face them. I do think the West might be a little bit more difficult, but I still think the Warriors can get there and probably will get there. But, the whole Draymond issue now kind of worries me. That's not something that's a Warrior thing in terms of the chemistry. Yes, Draymond may, try to kick LeBron and get suspended, but the in-house stuff, the last time we saw this was when he did it with KD and they didn't win. And can Draymond and Klay stay healthy the whole year? Because last year they were injured early on and they were able to make that run. Steph's a year older. So like they just had a really long season because you got to remember 1920 and 2021, they weren't long seasons. So I think that helped them late last year that the older guys had a lot more rest. This year, not so much. So I'm going to say no, they don't repeat.
You guys are just.
So I guess we're not checking at the end of the show, right? Because if I'm wrong, he's wrong.
You guys are thinking too hard on this. Like this is like cut and dry, like fastball down the middle. Like there's not a team in basketball right now that is chemistry stuff aside. Because I do agree that the Draymond Rock and Jordan Poole in practice.
They didn't even talk to each other last. You could tell they were like actively avoiding each other.
You punch me in the face, I'm not going to talk to you either.
But it's like it's one thing to not talk to somebody, but it's one thing to like they were in a situation last night with the ring ceremony and everything where like they had to have a moment where they're going to talk to each other or be close to each other, and it was obvious. Like you see this. Like you ever been in a situation where like you're in a group of people and you're avoiding somebody and you're like talking to people that you normally wouldn't talk to as long. Like they were doing that. Like I know the shit that they were saying they were listening to was not as funny as they made it seem on camera. Like they were clearly trying not to be next to each other.
That's perfectly fine. I mean, when they took the picture, Steph was in the middle because it was
for a reason.
Yeah. Look, I don't think Jordan Poole has anything to say to Draymond. I don't disagree. When I look at the Western Conference, we'll kind of dive into the Western Conference a bit later in the show. But like the Western Conference has a lot of talent, but it's not proven talent. Like the most notable thing the Lakers are going to do this year is LeBron James is going to pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That's not a Lakers thing. That's a LeBron thing. Like that is what the Lakers organization has going for them this season. The Clippers have a playoff spot going for them this season. I do think the Mavs got a little bit better. I don't think it's a drastic improvement because they don't still have Jalen Brunson, but I do think them having Christian Wood is probably going to do just as much as what Jalen Brunson was there for, except it's going to be from a different position and not as efficient and not as lethal from like 3-point range, obviously, because Jalen Brunson's a much better shooter. But like that's okay. I do think the Nuggets going to be a lot better because you have Jamal Murray back. You're going to have Michael Porter Jr. back, assuming he'll be healthy for the entire season. But like the Golden State Warriors are the best team in the Western Conference, and there's not a team I could look at realistically and say, like right now, could beat the Warriors in a 7-game series, which to keep them from the finals. And then when you look at the Eastern Conference, the only two teams I could see beating the Warriors in the finals would be the Bucks or the Sixers. And I don't know. I'd like to think the Bucks or the Sixers could make it to the finals, but, and I hate to do this because we've done this every year that they've been in Brooklyn, if the Nets are what they're supposed to be this year, the Nets could make it out of the East because they're constructed as such. So like it's really hard right now to look at a team that's not Golden State and like peg them and say like this is a team that is likely going to win win the finals this season.
Well, Marcus, there's a couple
to just kind of give it to the Warriors because you're right, JT is not that sexy to pick the Warriors, but like,
well, there's a couple things though, Marcus, I disagree with. Yes, even though the West, let's say, doesn't have the proven talent, but even if the Lakers and Clippers can get there and the Suns get there, and now Golden State without a 1 seed has to face 2 of those teams, right? We saw when they had to go through Houston, Oklahoma City, when they got to the finals, they were destroyed. Like injuries started happening and they weren't as good. They weren't as efficient. They weren't clicking. So last year, who they have? Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals instead of the Suns. Like that was a big advantage. And that's my whole point is if your run up to the finals is like Lakers first round, Suns second round, Clippers third round, and now you got to face the Celtics again. Don't forget
that's
how many games did the Celtics win? Like don't just write them off that they can't beat the Warriors because JT knows I say this all the time. Experience is huge. When the Celtics get back there this year, if they do, then that experience against Golden State, now they're even. Yes, Golden State's proven they can win it, but the Celtics know that they can hang and eventually are going to get over that hump. So I think, yes, the West maybe isn't as improved as it could have been, but it's improved enough with just the healthy guys that it's going to be a harder run up to the finals. And that's my whole point is it's not going to be easy. And I just don't think the Warriors will be able to do it this year.
But how many teams in the West can we confidently say outside of Golden State? Can we confidently say this is a team I could see in the Western Conference Finals?
But I feel like that's where you're wrong though. Like I want to go back to your comment about the talent level. Like that's part of to add on to Don. That's part of the reason why the Warriors had such an easy run. Is think about all the guys that were missing in the Western Conference last year that are back. Like the Clippers alone have 2 guys that could be top 20 guys. Damian Lillard's back. Like there's a bunch of guys in the West. The Denver Nuggets get their whole JT, roster back.
What happened in the Memphis series? Wasn't Ja Morant hurt or someone was hurt?
Yeah, Ja Morant was hurt. He definitely wasn't 100%, but it's just like it's like the Bengals last year going to the Super Bowl. Everything just broke right with injuries, and they ended up benefiting from it. And the Western Conference was loaded with injuries to important players. Like I don't think I've ever seen a year where a conference just had every star player go down.
I mean, 2 years ago when the Bucks made the finals.
No, but I mean, come on. The Eastern Conference has never been like that decimated by injuries.
This is so okay. So you're right. This is what when we talk about the Clippers, right? I think the Clippers are a really good team, right? But we've also seen the Los Angeles Clippers with a healthy Kawhi Leonard and a healthy Paul George in the
No, we
playoffs.
haven't.
Yeah.
We haven't.
Yeah.
Not in the. I don't think in the
No, we
playoffs,
haven't.
man.
When they were in the bubble, Kawhi Leonard played basketball, Paul George played basketball. They sucked.
I thought
they
PG's shoulder at some point got.
Yeah,
hurt,
he
man.
had shoulder. He had
Paul
double
George-
shoulder
Paul
surgery
George
after that
played
season.
The entire series. He played the entire series. They
Hey,
sucked.
he was hurt.
Looked
He was
bad.
hurt.
He's like, if you out there, no excuses. I get it. Football now.
Yes, if you're healthy enough to step out there, I don't want to hear after the fact when you look terrible. Oh, my shoulder hurts. I don't want to hear that.
He's 6'3". I want him to go out there with double torn labrums and try to put up numbers in the bubble against Jimmy Butler, LeBron.
I do think that there are teams right now. You look and I could see the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. I could also see the Clippers sitting at home after the first round because of injury, because that's what history has told us, right? I could see the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. I could also see the Denver Nuggets sitting at home after the first round. Like as much as we say that the road for the Warriors could be tougher, I think a lot of that is going to be alleviated by the fact that some of these teams that did get better, that do have teams coming back, they're going to have to play another one of these teams, right? Like the Nuggets might have to play the Clippers. So right there, that's one of two really good teams that the Warriors won't have to play, right?
But it's also one of two teams they didn't have to face last year that they will, whether it's the Nuggets or Clippers. You're
played
right.
the Nuggets last. Well, okay, the Nuggets weren't healthy, so never mind.
Again, exactly.
Yeah.
So and plus Memphis is going to be better, right? And maybe Ja is healthy. Like
all those teams are going to be better. Like
exactly. There's like four teams that they didn't have to face, and then they didn't even have to face Phoenix on top of that. So
look how many teams come back into the equation that were, like he said, weren't even there last year. The Clippers and the Blazers alone, like, weren't even relevant. Like, they weren't even on the table, and now they're back at full strength. Denver's back at full strength, like you mentioned. Memphis is back at full strength. Luka's only going to get better in Dallas. Like, the Suns are still a good team.
I think that Luka's going to be MVP candidate this year. I really do.
And I mean, that's valid. And the whole thing with the Lakers, yes, I'm not saying the Lakers are going to beat the Warriors, but in a 7-game series, do you really want to face, if they're healthy, a healthy Anthony Davis, a healthy LeBron? And again, the Warriors might win that, but if it takes 6, maybe 7, guess what? That's a lot more challenging than who they face in the first round. We don't even remember.
They played the Nuggets in the first round
which is a terrible
without Jamal Murray and without 100% Porter.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I don't. It's just. I mean, it's hard to. It's right now. I think we're looking at the Warriors as far as going back to and winning the finals in the same way we kind of looked at LeBron James in the East in the 2010s. Like it's really hard to see a scenario where LeBron James wasn't in the Eastern Conference Finals, like going into each and every season, because like it was just always happening. So we kind of talk about the Clippers, and we kind of talk about how we could see the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals, and I've alluded to the fact that the Nets, if healthy, which is what we say every single season, should make it out of the East. Which team deserves more benefit of the doubt, if either? Is it the Clippers or is it the Nets? Because I would say they're both very similar in the fact that they have a lot of talent, but neither of them can stay healthy. But every time the new season comes around, somebody, if not most people, have them, one, if not both teams, coming out of their respective conferences and going to the finals. Which team deserves more benefit of the doubt this season?
It's the Nets. It's because the things that are standing or were standing in the Nets' way are way, way more controllable than the Clippers. Like, the Clippers is just health. Like, you can't control that. Nets is just, look, like, we gotta have all our guys on the same page. Like, we gotta want to be here. And then the other thing is COVID. Like, there's no COVID restrictions. So, like, Kyrie playing a full season, like, he's gonna be a top 10 player. Like, you're gonna see that. Like, him being available for every game, no matter what city they play in. Them also having a reality check. Like, that market, however you want to put it, was not as hot for them as they thought they were. Like, KD couldn't get out. Kyrie had to opt back in. So that shit's humbling. And Ben Simmons, like, I hope he's humble too. So you got 3 guys that, you know, in any other scenario, you think these guys are franchise players and superstars. They're humbled. They're probably definitely hungry because they're hearing all the, you know, the chatter of people saying that, you know, they're not as good as people think they are. And they're all on the same team. Like, that's really rare. So, yeah, I think we should give them the benefit of the doubt because everything that makes them hyped up is still there. And it has nothing to do with, you know, injuries and not being available. It's just get your shit together, come to work, and just play as good as we know you are.
You agreed on again?
Heck no. No way. I mean, I'll start with this, JT. Who's on the bench of the Nets?
What do you? Oh, I mean, they got Curry. They got Joe Harris is coming back.
Okay.
They got Claxton, who I like. There's a bunch of guys that are pretty good.
That's great. Joe Harris coming off of injury, still kind of injured. Seth Curry injured. TJ Warren injured. The bench of the Clippers, John Wall, yes, coming off of injury, but
John Wall, king injury.
Hey, but it's no worse than the Nets. And
yes, it is because he's getting paid like a small fortune to be injured. At least the guys you're naming on the Nets are getting injured for free.
He's getting paid by somebody else. Norman Powell was once a starter somewhere.
Injury.
Robert Covington.
Coming off injury.
Robert Covington, another starter elsewhere. So I'm taking that bench. And then you have role players that know how to win. Marcus Morris, Reggie Jackson, coached by Ty Lue. So the coach is better. And then you talk about, there's controllables with the Nets. Really? Can you control the mood of Kyrie Irving from day to day? If you go on a 4-game losing streak, can you control Ben Simmons when he maybe gets injured or not? We're not sure. Never played with those guys before. So now you have a whole, you need a cohesive group. That takes time with a new player. And then we're acting like Ben Simmons is this great shooter. They need another scorer. They don't need another playmaker with the Nets. They got Kyrie Irving. I want that guy with the ball every time down the court because Kyrie can play make and score. Ben Simmons late in the game, you got to take him out. So what did we see with Kawhi in San Antonio? Well, he had that quad injury, didn't play again, went to Toronto, perfectly fine. Same thing's going to happen here. He sat out, had the big injury, sat out probably more than he needed to. They'll load manage him because that's all they got to do, JT, just like the Toronto Raptors. Get to the playoffs. And then
just get into the game, right?
Exactly. Get to the playoffs, and then it's on. I'm taking Kawhi and Paul George in the playoffs compared to the Nets trying to get out the East.
So let me get this straight. So you're taking.
Hold on.
No. I get what you're saying. The coach angle. I can get with you on.
And what has Kyrie Irving ever won without LeBron James? Nothing for either of those.
What has Paul George ever won? Period. And like Kawhi, you want to talk about? Joe Burrow? Like that was one of those runs where like I don't know what the hell was going on. Like, people won a title in San Antonio when Kawhi was with the Raptors.
On his own in Toronto.
I know you love Kawhi, but you trust KD and Kyrie in a series talent wise over Kawhi and PG.
Here's one thing I want to say, and then I'll let I enjoy this. This is fun. I honestly, I think Kawhi Leonard's a fantastic player. I think he's one of the better two-way players the game has ever seen. I think he's a top 10, maybe top 5 player in the league today when he's healthy. I think we give Kawhi Leonard too much credit for the championship with San Antonio because he was
San Antonio,
the fourth option on a team with 3 Hall of Famers and Greg Popovich. Like the system was already there, but like it's fine. The one in Toronto, I think, is fantastic. I just feel like the championship that Kawhi has with the Spurs doesn't hold as much weight as people give it.
Some basketball people would disagree because without him on LeBron in that series,
no, I'm not saying
they may not win.
No,
okay, but that's like saying without Bruce Brown, without Bruce Bowen, like who gets guarded?
They didn't beat him the year before.
I'm not saying
he beat the Spurs the year before.
I'm not saying he wasn't a factor. I'm not saying he wasn't important. What I'm saying is
he knows what it takes to win, and he gets it done.
Yes, but what I'm saying is specifically to that championship is when I think about like Kawhi Leonard as we know Kawhi Leonard, I'm not thinking about Kawhi Leonard on the Spurs when the Spurs beat the Heat. I'm thinking about Kawhi Leonard like post Tim Duncan when if it weren't for Zaza Pachulia putting his foot under the rug, they would have went to and probably won the finals that year. That's kind of the Kawhi Leonard we're talking about when we get to that point and beyond. That Kawhi Leonard was young. He wasn't in his prime, was a good basketball player. I'm not saying he was bad. I'm not saying he wasn't influential, but that Kawhi Leonard wasn't Kawhi. That Kawhi Leonard was like role player Kawhi. And role player Kawhi played his role exceptionally well, and it resulted in a championship for the Spurs and finals MVP. Now, I don't mean to cut off the back and forth. It's fun. It's why you're here and make my job a lot easier. So go ahead, continue with it's cool.
No, I'm actually going to yell at you. Like, let me ask you a question. Do you think we've even had this conversation about Kawhi if he doesn't win the title in Toronto?
What conversation about Kawhi?
Like that he's just like top 10 active player whenever he gets on the court. I don't think we do. Like I don't think you
because I think we still look at Kawhi as potentially a top 10 player because I think up until recently, I don't think he's in the conversation anymore. But like for the past up until last season, if the past like 3 to 5 years, I think a lot of people looked at Damian Lillard as being potentially a top 10 player in basketball.
Yeah,
And
but
he
you know,
doesn't have-
but
he
you know
doesn't
what?
have he doesn't have near the accolades that Kawhi has, or near the playoff resume that Kawhi has.
Yeah, because
I
Kawhi
think-
is in better situations. But I'm saying like the reason
Sure.
people put Damian Lillard up there is because while he might not have the playoff resume, like you watch him and he can put up the numbers. The thing with Kawhi is his legacy is like buoyed by championships that you're clearly saying are either fluky or
Wow.
he wasn't really a factor in San Antonio. I'm not saying Kawhi is
wasn't a
trash.
factor.
I know that's why he's shaking his head.
Do
But
the Raptors
it goes.
win in 2019 if KD and Clay aren't hurt?
You say what?
Do you think that the Raptors, a fully healthy Raptors versus a fully healthy Warriors, do you think the Raptors win the championship in 2019?
I don't know, but that's like saying, do the Warriors win if Kyrie
Monday
and
morning
Kevin
quarterback.
Love are healthy in 2016 or 2015? Like,
Okay.
who knows? You can make that argument. You could say Tom Brady's not the greatest of all time because he had Bill Belichick. He has a system around him. He always had.
Nah,
great tight
he
ends,
went
had
somewhere
Gronk
else
and
and proved he
defense.
was the best.
Like, I mean,
Well, here's
Sure,
the thing:
that's
if Kawhi wins in LA, then he gets the Tom Brady treatment. Until then, it's that Toronto championship is carrying his legacy, and it's like that is the most
you don't
flukiest. That's the most flukiest playoff run I've ever seen in NBA
Marcus,
history.
didn't he just say the Warriors last year and the Cincinnati Bengals the year before? Like, I mean, this guy just keeps moving the line. It's fine.
All right, my bad. Kawhi
Not
is
your
the
show
greatest
tonight,
player
bro.
of all time. Anybody that plays the Clippers in the playoffs will get crushed because Fat Kawhi is the best player, and I just
Listen,
trust
if you
him.
want to
You're
be
right. You're happy now?
realistic, if you want to be realistic, you could say the same about KD. What has he done outside of Golden State?
He was one shoe size away from going to the finals by himself. You act like he didn't show
Good
up.
job. Make all the excuses for KD. Kawhi will win the titles. That'll be the same thing the Clippers do
Because out of the four players
Same
that we're
thing
talking
the Clippers
about,
do this year.
KD
Don't
has
give him
been the
any
one
credit.
with the most issues. Like his performance
Totally fine.
has been
Totally
the
fine.
best out of all of
Totally
them.
fine.
If anything, out of those four, he's clearly the best and the one I trust the most.
Tyronn Lue in that group of he has Marcus Morris, Reggie Jackson, guys that have been there that are role players along with the superstars, than the Brooklyn Nets guys. Because when push comes to shove, Brooklyn's not going to be tough enough.
So, okay, I will agree that I think that the Clippers have a better group. We've always looked at the Clippers as being one of the more complete.
The better team always wins in basketball.
Sure.
Not true, because the Clippers have been talented for years and they always choke.
You just said they haven't played together healthy.
I'm not talking about this particular team. I'm talking about the Clippers in general. Like their mantra is we're so flashy and talented during the regular season that we choke in the playoffs.
Because they're not a playoff team
Culture.
like that back in the day, the Lob City.
To answer your question, Don, about what has Kevin Durant done outside of a Golden State Warriors uniform, which I think is
outside of choking.
Which I think
Brooklyn.
coming from you specifically, Don, because I know how intelligent you are, I would say is pretty lazy take. Because I mean he's an MVP. He's been to the finals. He has scoring championships. He was in the discussion to be one of the best players in the world before he went to Golden State. That's fine. And if you want to talk about his tenure in Brooklyn, like I get it. He hasn't won much, but we can't just look at that and say that he's choked. Like he didn't play his first season because he was hurt. His second season, the guys around him were hurt. And despite that, he still played really good basketball and was a toast. Now, the one issue I do have with the Brooklyn Nets run and Kevin Durant and like how great he played the Bucks 2 years ago when the Bucks won the championship was the fact that he was 0 for 6 in overtime in that game. That is inexcusable. You can't do as great as you did through quarters 1 through 4 and then go 0 for 6 in overtime. I get that, but
I'm not.
You have to stop acting like
KD
Kevin Durant has been terrible. No, you're not comparing KD and Kawhi. I'm just answering your question.
I'm talking about the team.
You said no, but you said what has Kevin Durant done outside of Golden State?
Because JT is trying to make the argument it's Kawhi versus KD, and I'm saying if you want to do that, well, there are benefits to Kawhi over KD. But if your question was with the teams, and all I'm saying is I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to the Clippers because we know that the history of the Nets. Yes, injuries, but at the same time, injuries may not occur. So that is why I'm going with the Clippers. The Nets aren't fooling me again. They fooled us the last 2 years. You got to show us something. They have no depth. They're going to run into the same problems against Boston if they got to face them. Against Philly, Harden's going to be foaming at the mouth to beat them. You talk about being hungry. That dude is hungry. He looks in shape, and he's ready to take down the Nets on his own.
Side note, so he is on the James Harden bandwagon now, and this has everything to do with fantasy sports. So I don't want you to think like, oh, like he's really down to the next. He's really high on James Harden. So the fact that he even brought him into this argument, do with that information as you may.
Just before we move on, it is, I guess, worth noting that the Nets are currently down 10 to the Pelicans, 58-48 heading into halftime. Let's stay in the Eastern Conference because I think there's one move
three
that
playing, Marcus.
Say it again.
Is the big three playing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
First game together.
Just
Let's
one.
find out. Let's find out who's playing. Kyrie has 4 points in 18 minutes. KD has 21 points so far in 18 minutes. Ben Simmons has 2.
Sounds like a Ben Simmons line.
They are.
The Ben Simmons is 2 and 5. Yeah, you got 2 points, 2 assists, 5 boards. So let's stay in the Eastern Conference. I think probably the most shocking move of the offseason was the trade by the Jazz to move Donovan Mitchell to Cleveland. It was completely out of nowhere. Don, I'll start with you on this one. Can the Cavs be this year's Memphis Grizzlies? Right? Because we saw the Memphis Grizzlies last year kind of come out of nowhere in the Western Conference. They were a young team. They rose to the 3rd seed in the Western Conference. A lot of people think, as you alluded to earlier, if they're not banged up in that series against the Warriors, they could probably knock off the Warriors in the West Conference semifinal series. Do you think the Cavs can have that same trajectory, or do you think they're still a bit far off from that?
I think they're a bit not far off, but I think their ceiling is like the 4th seed because it's the East. Like, I just don't see how they get into the top 3. I don't even know if they can get into the top 4, but I think that number 4 seed is their ceiling this year. I think they've got a good trajectory going. It's not going to be that spike the way Memphis had it because, again, the West was decimated with injuries, and it was just perfect timing for Memphis. They drafted well with Desmond Bane as well to help when they had their own injuries. I just don't think Cleveland's quite there. It doesn't mean they're not a good team. I still think they can be a 4th seed, probably more of like a 5th seed. My issue with them right now is the depth, right? No depth. They got Raul Neto playing basically backup point and shooting guard. C.D. Osman and Kevin Love, who's getting like that's their bench. You know, Garland Mitchell, again, how are they going to gel? I don't know. Like I'm not totally convinced it's going to be snap of the fingers. They'll be great. And then Jaren Allen and Mobley, like they're not quite the same player, but I don't know if there's enough room in the front court for them. And this is the biggest thing. Who is their prime defender, right? Like Memphis had some defenders.
Evan Mobley, I think, would be their prime defender.
But is he going to be watching Giannis, Tatum, Harden, and KD?
Yeah, those are rim protectors. Like right. Who's the guy they could put on the wing to guard, like, you know, a Tatum, like your crunch time?
That would be my concern. I don't think you can put Mitchell or Garland. And I looked at their roster and I don't see that prime defender. So yeah, they could be a really tough 5th seed. But if we're talking top 2, they need that prime defender and they need way more bench help. Their bench is just scary. If I'm the Cavs, I'm like, oh, we're bringing Raul Neto off the bench to be backup to both Garland and Mitchell. That ain't going to cut it in the NBA. You know,
they got Dellavedova too, right? Is he back on the team? I feel like he should fit into this group of misfits.
I didn't see him on the depth chart.
I think he might be.
He may be hurt.
It looks right. I'm just looking at they're playing the Raptors right now. It's halftime. I'm looking at what they've got going. It looks like they've got Dean Wade coming off the bench to be their.
That's the same issues they had last year, which plays into the depth issues. That also
has to do with
Okoro. Like we don't want to see these guys.
I think they're just waiting for Ricky Rubio to be 100% before they bring Ricky Rubio off the bench.
That's even worse.
You'd 100% take Ricky Rubio over Dean Wade. And
yeah, but we're talking about like the defensive issues. Like Ricky Rubio is a horrible defender, and now he's got like one less kneecap.
I think he does really well at his job, which is what he was doing last season before he got hurt. Stop crapping on Ricky Rubio, bro. This is a Ricky Rubio.
We've reached panic levels on this show. We are defending post ACL Ricky Rubio.
What's the ceiling for the Cavs in your eyes, JT?
I hate this question because it's gonna seem like I'm a hater. Don, you brought up great points about defense because there's just so much wrong with this team, in my opinion. I didn't even think about the defense.
I like the core though; they have a good core.
I actually, on paper, I love the core, but I don't love the core because for some of the reasons that you mentioned, it's like they all kind of eat into what each other does well. Like Garland is volume, like that's good. Like you saw, like he really broke out once Colin Sexton got hurt. So what do? You bring in another volume guard that doesn't defend, and Donovan Mitchell. So it's like, are 60 to 70% of like those two players, are they really going to get it done? Like, how does that work? Same thing with Allen and Mobley. It's like Mobley was good last year in real life, but I feel like his stats were like not that great or really inconsistent. Like sometimes he'd be good, sometimes Jared Allen would be good. Like they're kind of like the same player to me. And then you got Karis LeVert. Like I know how Don feel about him. You know, he's like the oddball out there playing as the fifth guy.
That's my guy though. He's a heck of a ball player.
Do you have chemistry and backcourt concerns for the Hawks with DeJounte Murray and Trae Young?
Well, I do, but for different reasons. The only concern I have with the Hawks is like how they'll make it work. But the way the Hawks are constructed, they're going to need Trae Young and DeJounte Murray to like really do a lot offensively. So like you can have two guards like that out there where it's like they have four guys that could be offensive centerpieces, and it's like, how do you like manage that? Like, you know who this reminds me of? Like, it's like the Bulls. Like everybody thought like, oh, the Bulls are getting all these pieces, but like sometimes they kind of cut into each other. Now the ceiling, I find it very hard for them to hit 50 wins, like maybe even the high 40s. I find it very hard for them to hit that ceiling. And as far as seeding, I can't put them ahead of the Bucks, the Sixers, the Nets, the Heat, the Hawks.
Can you not put them ahead of the Heat because you're a Heat fan? Or can you
no, because the Heat are a really good team, and like no matter what they have on their roster, they're always a top 3 or 4 team. Like it's a lock as long as like that staff is in place. Like I see the 6th seed as like a realistic like ceiling for the Cavs, and it's like it's not. I'm saying they're a bad team. I just like Don said, like defense, the depth. Like they're superstars that they're counting on to have these big years. Like they kind of cut into each other. So I was like, I think by the time they figure all this out, like it might be too late for them to be like a top 4 seeded team in the East.
I think I agree that there's a chance that Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland can cut into each other. I think you bring in a guy in Donovan Mitchell because number one, he's young, and bringing in a young guy to add to your already young core is incredible, especially someone that is the caliber of Donovan Mitchell. You bring in Donovan Mitchell to be that closer because he has playoff experience and he's put up really great performances in the playoffs in his very short career in the NBA to this point, right? When you look at what Darius Garland was doing, I think, especially when you look back at the playing game they had against the Nets, the big reason why the Cavs lost that game against the Nets, aside from like the lack of depth and aside from defense, which essentially means nothing when you're playing against another team that also lacks depth and can't play defense, is that they didn't have a guy on that roster last season that could go blow for blow with KD down the stretch and close out the game for the Cavs. They have that now with Donovan Mitchell, which is nice, right?
Was it that, or was it that Darius Garland was their only like explosive scorer and they were just mobbing him?
Well, it's both. I think it's a combination of both. I think it's a combination of they didn't have a closer, but also because Darius Garland's young and he's never been in that type of situation before, and because the entire team is young, no one really. It was very clear that no one knew what to do about the Nets mobbing Darius Garland. I think that Donovan Mitchell being there takes a lot of pressure off Darius Garland and allows him to do a lot more off the ball, which could in turn make the Cavs really, really tough. It could also backfire and make them really, really, really one-dimensional if Darius Garland loses his touch, if he plays off the ball too much. So I do agree to an extent that the Donovan Mitchell acquisition might not be that great on the floor as it seems on paper. But I do think that when you look at the backcourts in the Eastern Conference, I would look at this backcourt and I'd say it's one of the better backcourts in the Eastern Conference.
I disagree. I feel like as I'm saying, in theory, it's supposed to be really good. Like if we were playing like NBA Live or 2K, like yeah, this looks great. Like we got Donovan Mitchell, we got Darius Garland, but I feel like Donovan Mitchell, and we've talked about this before. Like I'm not as high on him as other people are. It's like, oh, all his accolades are just because like nobody else in Utah could do it. Like somebody had to score. Like,
Sure.
So when you put him in a situation like the Cavs, what it comes down to is like, can he score, but can he be efficient with it? Because if you got Donovan Mitchell, if we need him to be Utah Donovan Mitchell on the same usage and efficiency, then that kills everybody else on the team because they don't get the ball. And like, I don't want Darius Garland playing off the ball because guess what? He's a better facilitator than Donovan Mitchell. Like Donovan Mitchell is really a 2-guard trying to play point guard. Like Darius Garland could be an assist leader in the league, like if he gets the right usage. So like, I don't want him off the ball.
Yeah.
But JT, I mean, you got to look. They were like a 9 seed last year. So maybe I went a little too high with my 4 seed, but we're talking ceiling, right? If everything falls perfect,
if everything's perfect, I could see them as a 4 seed.
Right.
6 seeds.
But JT, you got to remember they didn't have Colin Sexton last year, so that was
I think was a good thing.
Well, that was I mean, listen, he's still a good ball player. Like that was a piece they were missing, and now they've basically replaced a guy that was injured, gave him nothing with a guy like Donovan Mitchell. So like, it won't be a step down, so they only can go up. So maybe you're right. Maybe the 6 is more where they'll end up. But the question was ceiling. If everything goes right, everyone is healthy. I mean, they could get to that 4 spot. But you're right. They're probably more a 6 or 7 seed with talent and chemistry. But if we're talking ceiling, they could get to a 4 spot. You know, that would be like someone last year saying, well, Memphis is probably a 6 or 7 seed, maybe a 5th. But their ceiling obviously was a 2 seed. You know what I mean?
I'll put it this way. I feel like seeding is so hard. I'll put it this way. The ceiling is 50 wins. That's what I see.
But how many did they have last year? I think they had like 47 or something, 45. I think they were 45 and 37.
Yeah, I think the ceiling is 50.
So you think only 5 more wins is their ceiling?
Is their ceiling? Like I think the East teams have gotten better, and you know how I feel about Donovan Mitchell. Like
I understand, but he's still a good ball player, and those guys are in Mobley and Garland and Jared Allen are another year experienced, right? I mean, those guys. Garland.
So let me ask you a question.
Second year, Mobley a rookie.
Because I feel like this is a trap question. Shout out to GOAT for giving us this trap question.
Last year the Cavs were 44 and 38.
Oh, I was off 1 game.
So last year, 50 wins last year is the 5th seed. Because the Raptors were 48 and the 76ers had 51. So if the ceiling is 50 wins, they'd be like the 5th seed this year.
I pushed their ceiling is one more seed up. It's 5. Honestly, I feel like the ceiling is capped because realistically, are you putting them? Do you think they have any shot to be finished higher than the Bucks?
No.
Heat.
No. Huh?
I think they could finish higher than the Heat. I do. I do. I think, and that's only because I think that the Heat aren't going to be the 1 seed.
Well, bearing an injury, I'm talking about like if everybody relatively stays healthy. Like Sixers, I don't see it. Celtics, I don't see it.
If everyone stays healthy, the Heat's cap is also the 4 seed. Because I don't think they're going to be better than the Bucks. I don't think they'll be better than the Nets. I don't think they'll be better than the Sixers. If everything goes the way it's supposed to. So like
I will say this: if the Heat end up the 4 seed, I feel like my team, the 4 seed is more by design. Like they have like schematically sat guys over certain games. Like they looking at matchups. Like they could easily be a top 2 seed. And then I think the thing that people aren't looking at too, and why I'm not so high on the Cavs and why the 5th seed is their ceiling is. All these teams we talking about, we ain't talking about the Raptors. Like they still come in too. So like, I feel like their ceiling of outcomes could be higher than the Cavs. Like I just trust who they are when they're healthy.
So if you run down the totem pole of teams in the Eastern Conference, right, and you go 1 to 15, who is the best team in the East? Is it the Heat? Is it the Bucks? Is it the Sixers? Is it like who do you think, like as of today? I know it's day 2 of the season. Like as of today, so like going into the season, you know it's already started. Who's the best team in the Eastern Conference right now?
Like fully healthy?
Yeah.
I feel like it's based on last year's got to be a tie between like the Bucks or the Celtics.
How about you, Don? Who's the best team in the East right now?
Right now, yeah, I think you got to look back to last year. It's got to be the Celtics. If you don't put the Celtics there, then it's like, well,
fraudulent.
Yeah, I mean, there must be some other reason why you're not putting them there. Either Either you have a team that you like, or you think the coaching may not hold up with Boston because
coach looked good last night.
Exactly.
Ime Jr. was out there doing the same thing.
I mean, they're healthy. It looks like Marcus Smart is healthy. Did Robert Williams even play?
No, he's out.
Yeah,
for like
he's
out 12 weeks.
He's out. So when they get him back, I mean, they look that good without him. So I mean,
and their centers were in foul trouble. Like their centers got into foul trouble, and they still beat Embiid in them by what, like 10, 12?
Like, I think right now Boston is just hot. Like, they're still the season never stopped for them, it feels like, since last January.
You know what? I'll add on to that. I don't know what they turned on, like what switch they flipped second half of last year with defense, but that shit is still there.
Mm-hmm.
It's legit. Like, that was the question last year, is like, is this a fluke or is this for real? Like, it's for real. Like, they still are that top defensive team like that.
Okay, so I think we can all agree that the Bucks, the Celtics, the Nets, and the Sixers are like the cream of the crop in the East, right? We all know that the Warriors have to be at the top of the West. So who are the other three teams that you would put up there with the Warriors as the cream of the crop in the West?
Well, just out of what I saw last year. You want to go first?
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
Orlando fans. I gotta say the Mavs, just because in Luka I trust. Like, I look what they did last year and in the playoffs. Like, he dismantled everybody's favorite teams. So I gotta put them up there. The Suns will always be there, man. Like, they might not get it done, but they'll always be there. Just good roster, well coached. And the Nuggets, like, they fully healthy, like what they did last year with nobodies. Like,
I have no faith in the Suns this year. I want that to be put on the record right now.
As champions, but like as a top 4 team in the conference.
I have no faith in the Suns this year. No faith in the Suns whatsoever. I
don't.
Be the
year they win it. Watch.
Yeah, that's fine. Hey, look, if I'm the reason why the Phoenix Suns win a championship, I'll take credit for that forever. I love Monty Williams, and I think he is. I think he's one of the best coaches in basketball, and I do. The roster's constructed nice. I don't know if it's just I'm giving it too much weight, but last season's collapse against the Mavericks just left a really, really, really bad taste in my mouth. Because when you look at that Mavericks team last season, that Mavericks team had nothing. Like, Luka, as great as Luka is, like, once you got past Luka Doncic, and I know Jalen Brunson was playing really well in the playoffs, but like, really, once you get past Luka, the Dallas Mavericks had nothing last season, and they got dismantled by the Dallas Mavericks in 3 consecutive games to close out the series. We're talking about a conference, as we talk about at the top of the show, that has a team in the Warriors that's a champion. Obviously, that has a team in the Clippers that Don has a lot of faith in. That has a team in the Nuggets that I personally think could potentially, if all things go well, could make it to the Western Conference Finals this season if Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. stay healthy, because they have the talent there, at least with that big 3, right? Like, I don't know if the Suns are still going to be the Suns this season and be one of the measuring stick in the West, the way they were last season up until the playoffs, and then the season before, obviously, when they made it to the NBA Finals. Like, I have no faith in the Phoenix Suns this season, and I don't know if it's because I'm still holding on to the last time we saw the Suns and how bad they looked in the playoff series, or if it's just the West, as we talked about kind of all night. They've got there's a lot of key players for teams that could be really good that are coming back this season that could elevate those team stocks. And the Suns, I think, are just like the Heat. Like, the Suns didn't do much of anything to improve their stock or get themselves closer to a championship, or at least making out of the West. And by default, that puts them further, that makes their odds much longer to make it out, because there's a lot of other teams in the West that did make some type of moves to get closer to making it out of the West, or at least being competitive, where if the chips fall the right way, they could stumble out of the West and into the NBA Finals, right? I just have no faith in the Phoenix Suns this season. And they'll be a good regular season basketball team. They will.
Are they top 4 in the West, regardless of how you feel about their collapse whenever it happens?
No. I don't know. I can't comfortably say the Suns will be a top.
You put money on them or something? Because like
I didn't put any money on the Suns.
You sound like
too
a
young.
victim.
He's too young. He's too young.
Fine. You can say it's an age thing. I look at the Warriors. I think the Warriors are going to be better than the Suns. I think if the Clippers are healthy, the Clippers will be better than the Suns. I like the Nuggets to be better than the Suns this season, and I like the Mavericks to be better than the Suns this season. I think the Sun. I'm not saying I couldn't see the Suns being a top 4 seed because they've been, the last 2 seasons they've been the number 1 seed in the West. I'm not saying it's impossible.
They've been one of the top teams in the NBA, like
right,
whether you want to say like
but
record wise
right,
or not.
That's fine. So I'm not saying it's impossible. I just don't have much faith. It's hard for me to. I'm not buying any Sun stock. I guess
if you're not buying any Sun stock and the Suns are not your top 4, then the Warriors can't be a lock to repeat. So basically, you're saying the Western Conference just got too loaded.
That's not the same thing. It's not the same thing at all.
It kind of is.
No, it's not. The Suns 2 years running now have collapsed. They were up 2-0 against the Bucks in the finals. They lost 4 straight. They were up 2-0 against the Mavericks, I believe, this past season. They lost 4 straight. Like they've collapsed twice in playoff scenarios when it really mattered or when they were favored. It's happened 2 years in a row. It's not the Warriors. Why I don't think the Warriors. I'm not going to sit here and say the Warriors are a lock, right? Because I would say the Warriors are virtually a lock because of when you look at the Golden State Warriors, you look at how they've been constructed over these past almost 10 years now. Every time the Golden State Warriors make it into the playoffs, they go to the NBA Finals at the bare minimum. And as long as they're healthy in the finals, they win in the finals, right? Like you look at the Suns and it's like they made it to the finals 2 years ago. They were up 2-0. They dropped 4 straight. They were up 2-0 against the Mavericks, I think it was. They dropped 4 straight against the Mavericks, and that was a one-man wrecking crew. So if we're saying that the Clippers are going to be good, if we're saying that the Nuggets could be good, if we're saying that there's a lot of people think the Pelicans could make some noise in the West, right? There's still some believers out there that think that maybe LeBron has just enough LeBron juice left in him to drag. If we're saying all these things and we think the West is going to be as competitive as it should be, then if I'm looking at all these teams that made strides to get better or to improve in some degree and the Suns didn't, it's hard for me to right now to put the Suns ahead of teams that got better because there are teams that got better that have moved themselves ahead of the Suns. Like the Clippers weren't going to be better than the Suns entering last season, but they're better than the Suns now. You can say the same thing about the Nuggets. You could say the same thing about the Mavs, really, because the Mavs were the last team to play the Suns in a big time situation, and they beat them without Christian Wood. And I think the addition of Christian Wood could help them. Like it's just, I don't know. I'm not going to say
he's not even starting.
That's fine. That's fine. That's not the point. The point is there is an issue that the Mavericks had that they addressed in the offseason to some degree, and it could make the Mavericks better. And the Mavericks without Christian Wood beat the Suns. I'd like to think the Mavericks with Christian Wood in a 7-game series could also.
You know what makes the Mavericks the team that you're all in on? It ain't Christian Wood. It's just Luka Doncic.
You're right.
Luka could go in 5-on-1 and beat a team.
Yeah, he's one of 3 players in basketball today that can do that 100%. If all 30 teams were like on a stock board in front of me and I was going to pick teams to buy stock for this season right now today because it's only night 2 of the season, I would not be buying Sun stock. If I had Sun stock, I'd be selling it.
That's why you need a financial manager, man, because like they're gonna teach you how to buy risky stocks and you buy the safe stocks. Safe stocks is Suns are gonna do their thing. They're gonna be a top 3 team in the West.
I don't know
record wise, and I want that in my portfolio because my dividends are gonna grow steadily over time.
A safe stock is the Warriors. A safe stock is the Bucks. A safe stock is the Celtics. You want to pick a risky stock, you're talking about the Nets or the Clippers. I don't think the Suns are a safe stock to buy.
They are. How can you say that? Like record wise, they're always going to be at the top as long as they don't lose anything.
So giving me a list of 6 teams that could make it out of the Western Conference or give the Warriors trouble. Neither one of you mentioned the Suns. I list those.
Well, the Suns are a given to make like they're always going to be. I'm so tired of talking about them. They're a given.
I don't know. I don't know if I can put I don't know. It's only night 2. We can revisit this around Christmas time.
As soon as Devin Booker has that 50-point game, like you're going to be back on it.
I'm not. I promise you, I'm not. The Suns, for me personally, are starting to creep into that Utah Jazz territory where there can be a really good regular season team, but until they get over the hump in the playoffs, it's just hard. It's going to be really hard for me to like.
You mean the Utah Jazz team with like as long as Donovan Mitchell's been there?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
you're so disrespectful.
How? The Jazz were terrible in the playoffs.
So disrespectful. The Jazz with Donovan Mitchell have never even touched what the Suns have done the past like 3 years.
You're right, but they're starting to get there. They've choked twice in big moments. This is what history has showed us over the last 2 years.
I just seen Chris Paul's fit coming into tonight. They're gonna win by 20. Just for you.
Who are they playing tonight?
Hope it's not the Mavs. It is. They're playing Luka.
Oh yeah. Oh, Luka's dropping 50 tonight.
I think one team we're forgetting is the Minnesota Timberwolves. To be honest,
yeah,
Minnesota Timberwolves are going to suck this season.
They're going to be good, bro.
I've got them in my top 4. They're going to end up top 4 in the West.
You want to talk about a team that fixed their issue, bro? Rudy Gobert.
No,
they're going to end up top 4. It's going to be Warriors, Clippers, Grizzlies, Timberwolves. Those are your top 4.
I don't like what the presence of Rudy Gobert means for Anthony Edwards as a basketball player and his development as an offensive basketball player. And I definitely don't like. I just don't like it. Like I don't.
It's worse for Cat though.
I don't.
Because now Cat has to just. They're going to turn Cat into Miles Turner, basically. Like, he's just going to be out there just shooting threes.
Are the Minnesota Timberwolves? Are we okay? If Don is saying that the Timberwolves are going to be the 4 seed in the West, right? I'm not going to say it can't happen. Anything can happen. I'm not sold. What I will say though is I'd be more confident in like going in on the Timberwolves being a 4 seed if it meant that it was going to be because Anthony Edwards was being the best player on the team. I don't know if the mindset going into this season is we're going to ride Cat this season, which is what the addition of Rudy Gobert kind of makes me think that's happening. I don't know if the Timberwolves are going to be a top 4 team in the West on the back of Karl Anthony Towns.
Strength in numbers. That's how the Warriors did it.
That's fine. But okay, Anthony Edwards primarily so far through, what is it, 2 years?
This year 3.
What is this, year 3 now for him? So far through 2 years in the NBA, Anthony Edwards has made a lot of his money as a slasher. It's not that he can't shoot, but he's not an efficient shooter yet. He's just not there yet, right? You have a guy now in Rudy Gobert that isn't a threat outside of the paint, and that was the problem in Utah and why it didn't work with Donovan Mitchell. Now, Donovan Mitchell turned out to be okay, and he developed a three-point shot, and he's a 44% career three-point shooter, which is great. That doesn't mean that that's the norm. That doesn't mean that Anthony Edwards, too, can turn into a 40-some-odd% shooter from 3. And if you're forcing him to do that, the Timberwolves are kind of forcing Anthony Edwards to abandon one part of his game that works really well for them, which is his ability to attack the paint and be a threat down low, and forcing him to shoot the ball more, which is something he's not that great at, and he's not an efficient shooter. I don't like that for his development. I don't like it for the Timberwolves. And also, I think the Timberwolves are just a lot of hype right now.
It worked for the Houston Rockets with Dwight and James Harden.
No, it didn't.
When Harden was there, though, he was still James Harden. Like nothing changed is what I mean. Now you've got a really good team around you in Minnesota on top of that. Like James Harden game didn't change. His numbers didn't change. But James Dwight Howard's injuries and Dwight Howard being Dwight at the time.
Also, look at the Celtics. Like it works for them too. Like Robert Williams is a guy that just stays in the paint. Like they all do just fine. Like slash into the basket with him there.
But Jason Tatum is also a reliable shooter, as is Jaylen Brown.
So you just don't trust Cat.
I don't.
Or Anthony Edwards.
Trust Karl Anthony Towns. It's not that I don't trust Anthony Edwards. It's that I don't. The last time. It's not that I don't trust Anthony Edwards. It's that I don't know if he can. I don't know if Anthony Edwards. I'm not saying he can't. I'm not going to say right now. I 100% think Anthony Edwards can turn into a reliable and efficient shooter from mid-range and beyond. And it's not that I don't think he can't do it or he's incapable of it. I just don't know if he can right now. It's not.
So basically, you saying that Anthony Edwards is just going to be Donovan Mitchell 2.0.
I don't think Anthony Edwards is going to be. No, I think it's the opposite. And Anthony Edwards being Donovan Mitchell 2.0 means Anthony Edwards will develop a shot from mid-range and beyond and turn into a reliable shooter. And the presence of Rudy Gobert down low won't matter, won't impact his game or the flow of the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't know if we can. I don't know if he can do that. I don't think he can't. I don't think he can. It's just I don't know. I have to see it to believe it. I think there's too much hype around the Timberwolves.
Real quick, they're not even at halftime. They put 63 on the board.
Who are they playing?
It doesn't matter. Like
no,
they're playing.
No, I'm just genuinely.
It doesn't matter.
I'm just genuinely curious to know who they're playing.
Oh, they're playing the Thunder, and I know what you're going to say. Well, it's the Thunder, but anytime you score north of 60 in an NBA game, they have 63 with a minute and a half to go. Like
that's cool.
That's good offense. I don't care what you say. And when you have guys like again, we got to remember these are guys coming off the bench, guys that can score. Tarion Prince, JT's guy, Slow-Mo, Kyle Anderson. And then, they still got, D'Angelo Russell.
That's fine.
McDaniels is a great role player who's a starter. And they got McLaughlin off the bench too. And Brian Forbes, who's another good role player off the bench. Like, these guys aren't knock your socks off, but that's a nice 9-man
They can score.
rotation.
Like, if that second unit, they all can shoot. Like, if they get hot, like, that's Warriors. That's what the Warriors do. Like, they beat you, and then the bench comes in and they score. Like, they can do that.
Strength in numbers with Minnesota, man.
I've been saying this for 2 years now, and I might as well change the name of the show to this. I'd much rather be late to the party than be early to the party and be wrong.
What fun is that? I love being early to the party. I'm like,
but you know what happens? You know what happens when you late to the party? You don't have as much fun, and you end up losing. You end up paying more money. You're gonna lose more money.
So the good thing about hedging your bet and being late to the party is if the party never starts, like what's happening in Denver, then I get to come on my show as much as I want and tell all of you people how right I was about how bad the team's going to be, which is what I've been doing.
But see, we know you. We don't want you to play Monday morning quarterback. You got to put yourself out there, man. Take a risk.
Listen,
take a risk. Say something risky on this show. I feel like all your stuff has been on the fence.
Me being a Packers fan is risky enough. That's all.
Are you going to the game? Are you going to the game Sunday?
And it's partially
in Washington.
It's because I don't want to step foot in FedEx Field, not because I don't want to see my team play, but because I don't trust the structure.
You don't want to see them play, really. I don't. After what the Jets did to them at home,
I want to die in FedEx Field. They were playing in Baltimore to go see the game because I like the way that M&T Bank Stadium is built. I don't trust the facilities of FedEx Field to hold me for 3 hours.
I don't think it's FedEx Field anymore.
I don't know what it's called. I don't trust it at all.
I think you just don't want to watch your team and waste.
I think JT. I don't think he trusts the structure of the Green Bay Packers organization.
He expected Aaron Rodgers to throw to Devontae. That's what he want to see, but now he's just going to see AJ Dillon and 3 yards.
No, I'm actively planning on going to Philadelphia to see them play the Eagles. I'd much rather go to Philly to watch the Packers.
Oh, so you want to go on the road to a funeral? I got it.
I mean, it'd be on the road here. I just don't want to go to a bad stadium.
I mean, you don't have to travel. You got to travel to Philly to see Aaron Rodgers die.
But if I get to see Aaron Rodgers die, that also means I get to see Jalen Hurts be successful, and Jalen Hurts is one of my guys for this season. So like I still leave happy either way.
A-Rod will be fine against those teams. I mean,
A-Rod oh my God.
That's exactly how he'll be in the pocket.
That's live.
There's a centipede on my hoodie. Hey, that's fine for it to be live. I don't want to die. Jeez. Anyway, so let's do some predictions before we get out of here. Let's start with MVP. JT, Don, who do you guys think is going to finish the season as the MVP? Is Jokic going to do what they didn't let LeBron do back in the 2000 or in the 2010s and win 3 straight, or is it going to be someone else?
You want me to take it?
He said your guy, so I'll let you go first.
So wait, repeat the question.
Who's going to be MVP? Is it going to be Jokic for the 3rd straight time, or is it going to be somebody else?
Nah, it's going to be, you know what? You guys got me so fired up. My blood pressure went up. I'm going Kawhi.
That's not because
I'm going Kawhi. Kawhi is going to be the MVP. Geez. I'll tell you why. Listen to this. Vegas knows something. All right. The number 1 guy, the best odds is Luka plus 450. JT, since Marcus does gamble, he goes down to MGM National Harbor. You don't, JT. Let me explain what plus 450 means. Plus 450 means you bet 100, Luka becomes MVP, you win 450. All right. Now, with that said, he's got the best odds. After him, you've got some other guys. Think about this. Tatum's plus 1,200. Steph is plus 1,300. Ja's plus 1,200. So, some people think those guys might win it. Kawhi's only plus 1,800. He's not far behind Steph, Tatum, and Ja. So he's not as far off as you guys think. And if Vegas feels that way,
are you basing your pick off of Vegas?
Of course,
of course.
Marcus, have you never paid attention to lines? They know what's going down, bro. They know what's going down.
All the time.
They know because they basically pick the awards.
Exactly.
Your pick is based off of the lines in Vegas, not because Kawhi Leonard is going to have an MVP season.
Well, I do believe that, but Vegas is backing up my.
I agree. It is. I haven't placed a futures bet on MVP yet. I haven't.
Are you old enough to place a bet at MGM?
At MGM, no. Other places, yes.
They won't let him in there.
That man
They
got
won't
a
let him in the
bookie.
main casino. JT, I took you there, right? I took you there. That was before they put the sports book. Haven't been there. But
I'm old enough to
He
like go
wouldn't-
on FanDuel or DraftKings. And do it.
but Marcus isn't old enough to even set floor on the main floor at the casino of MGM National.
I can do it on my phone, on FanDuel or something like that. Yeah. Do you agree? Of course you don't agree. I don't know. I just asked you that. Kawhi's not your MVP, of course. Who is? Is it Jimmy Butler? Is Jimmy Butler MVP this year?
You guys always try to trap me into these. Like, you guys want me to just go everything Miami. Like, I'm realistic. I love my teams. I'm realistic. Jimmy Butler's not an MVP. Jokic, no, they won't, because I don't think they're not going to want to give it to him 3 times in a row, especially since he got so much heat for getting it 2 times in a row. I know it's the worst bet. Like, you're not going to make any money. I think it's Luka for 2 reasons. One, what he did last year against the Suns in that series, like, it don't care. They got Christian Wood, Larry Wood, anybody could be out there. Like, Luka gonna get his. Like, it's insane. I think he's a man on a mission. It's funny they play the Suns tonight. I know he hates Devin Booker, and I think his MVP tour is gonna kick off tonight. And also with Luka, I just think people want to see him get it. Like, if he stays healthy and has any semblance of an MVP type year, like, they'll talk about it all year. Like, you just can tell the type of guys they want to get the next award, and I feel it's him. Like, it's just setting up perfectly for
him. For 3 straight years, I have made the exact same MVP pick. For 3 straight years, I've been wrong.
I think I know who this pick is.
I think Kevin Durant's going to be MVP of the season. It's very hard for me not to think that Kevin Durant's going to be the MVP this year. I think when you look at what happened, of course, the offseason, how he kind of wanted out of Brooklyn, but he decided to stay. I think Kevin Durant is sick of Charles Barkley. He's sick of people like Don. He's sick of all these people that he's just unable to play, like, just unable to play basketball.
You just said you take Kawhi over him. Please don't try to backtrack.
I think that the Slim Reaper, easy money sniper, Kevin Durant is going to be the MVP of the season. I'll hedge my bet on Luka because I think it's more likely going to be Luka, but my pick officially is Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant's going to be the MVP this season. I think this is the season I'm going to be right about my Kevin Durant pick. I think he's going to win MVP. Which brings us to the big one, which brings us to the NBA Finals. We talked about the Warriors. We talked about a lot of good teams. Don, I'm pretty sure I would assume you have the Clippers coming out of the West, but who do you have making it to the Finals? And I know it's October, but who do you have winning the Finals also?
Oh, it's going to be Bucks, Clips. The Clippers win it. Clippers get it done.
Clippers over the Bucks. Okay. JT?
The Nets, Warriors. I'm going all in on the Nets again.
That would be great for TV.
All on the Nets. That's a made for TV.
It's got to happen. Like, they got to give us this Finals in our lifetime. Like, AD got to go back and win his first solo championship against the Warriors. Like, this is perfect.
If I'm going to be wrong, I hope that is the Finals. Then, if I'm going to be wrong, I hope
it would break records as far as like viewership. Like
the drama,
it's like there'll be 7 games of a Super Bowl basically.
I've been on the fence about my pick. I have also 2 years ago after the Bucks won the NBA Finals, I made it very clear that the Bucks weren't going to go back to the Finals this past season, and they didn't. I was right about that. I also predicted that the Warriors would win the Finals last season, and they did. So far, my Finals pick so far 2 years running are 2 for 2. I'm hoping to make it 3 for 3 this year. Have the Nets and the Warriors. I agree with you, Don or JT, and I think the Nets are going to win the championship this year. And I hope I'm not wrong because I would hate to have to come back on this show in 7 months when the Nets are a play-in team, but this is one time when I am going to enjoy being the first person at the party because if I'm right, they're going to be held.
Look, man, why are you so offended that he agreed with me? It's one segment.
No. Well, Marcus, you're wrong because you agreed with JT, but JT did.
You also agreed with me too out of the gate. So you started with an agreement.
Well, that's what I'm going back to. I want to go back to the opening topic. JT, did he not say the Warriors are going to repeat?
I didn't say that.
The question was,
I said, all the Warriors going to repeat? I never answered the question. I didn't give an answer.
Oh, how did you miss that? You got glasses on, man.
Quick.
Give an answer. Hey, look, I'm good with words. I know how to play with words. I said they're a virtual lock, but I don't think they're going to repeat. I think the Warriors are going to make it out of the West.
Using betting terms.
Yeah. Let's use all types of betting terms. I don't think the Warriors are going to make it out. I think the Warriors are going to make it out of the West. I think if the Warriors play the Nets, I think KD is going to be on a mission. And if KD's on a mission, that means the Nets are going to win.
I don't think the Nets have. I don't think the Warriors have anybody that can stop him. And I think that's a bad matchup for them.
Of course, yeah, of course. Kevin Durant is an out of this world basketball player. He's the best player on the planet. Like, argue with a wall, I don't care. And he's going to win a championship.
KD, and if they have a finals, KD will earn. Draymond will earn a suspension.
They put Iguodala on every other team's prime score. It's like that's their answer to everything. Andre Iguodala, AI, get on him.
You know what's that's probably actually a good strategy because like if Iguodala's on you, that means that player is going off and they're not looking to get anybody else involved.
That's ridiculous.
I'd do that.
I thoroughly want to see Kevin Durant. I just as a fan of Kevin Durant, I get sick of seeing people slander the good name of Kevin Durant like he was
I got him in the top 10 all time, bro. I got him in the top 10 all time.
You ain't got him in the finals.
But I just don't have him in the finals. He burned me with it the last 2 years as well. Or last year, I think.
So you're thinking with your heart and not with your head. He hurt your feelings, and now you're thinking.
Well, you know why? Because I also picked the Bucks 2 years ago when they won the title, and they actually came through. So I'm going to go with a team that I know can get it done, and I've been right on them before.
Things nobody asked for 200, Alex.
Get it done? Do we know the Clippers can get it done? I don't think we do.
Well, I said the Bucks out of the East. We're talking the East.
But it's a little.
The Nets got to go through the East first. So what's the
little
point of
oxymoronic to say I'm going to go with a team we know can get it done, and then you got the Clippers winning it all, and the Clippers haven't been to the finals
because it's their year. It's their year.
At
some point, it's got to be a team's year.
I think we should get a Clippers Nets finals, and then we'll really settle which one.
That'd be great. Bring it on.
No, y'all should get a Clippers.
Kawhi,
y'all should get a Nets and Suns finals, so y'all can look bad for being hurt by those teams because one of y'all is gonna get a makeup.
Dude, if the Suns win the finals this year, I'll come back. I'll come on your show with a JaVale McGee jersey.
He ain't even on that team, is he?
I don't know if he's still on the team, but he's got a jersey. There's a JaVale McGee Suns jersey somewhere. I'll put it on profusely.
I don't know. We may want you to wear the Dan Marley. I don't know.
Yeah, you got Dan Marley.
Whatever you want, I'll go find it.
Under Dan.
Yeah,
I'll I'll apologize. Good for me though. The Suns won't. Real quick, just because you guys are here, and I think this is kind of funny. JT, your Steelers, your Dolphins, excuse me, host Don's Steelers on Sunday night this week in the NFL.
We going to the game, JT?
We were supposed to.
Can you get us tickets?
but nobody wanted to make plans. We knew this was a primetime game when the schedule came out. Nobody followed up on it, so we won't be there.
Tua's coming back. This will be Brian Flores' first time coaching against the Dolphins. You got 5.
Ooh, that's right.
Are gonna. Do you think? I assume you have your Dolphins winning, JT. Yes.
I need more time on this. Early return says no because also Mika Fitzpatrick is coming back, but I don't know.
Yeah,
you know what? Forget about it. I'm going with my team. Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, they can't cover those guys. Tua's back. It's Dolphins. Dolphins win by 3 scores. It's not even going to be close.
You know,
am I supporting my team enough?
Just because he's so arrogant, I'm going Steelers. You saw what we did to one Florida team. We're about to do the same to the other Florida team. Hey,
that's a big win against the Bucs this past week too.
Here's a PSA to all the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do not go out on South Beach the night before. We saw what happened.
They will.
We saw what happened.
This is not a daytime game because it would be 4 scores.
We had guys throwing up on the field the last time the Steelers were down there, and they went out on South Beach the night before. Don't go out on South Beach the night before. It's going to be hot and humid.
Did you guys see the picture of the temperature on the Dolphins sideline and the temperature of the Vikings?
Oh, that's every game. That's why we always have those fluky games at 1:00 early in the season because it's hot as hell.
It used to be worse
at night only.
Before they put that cover on.
They put that cover. It used to be worse. The visiting sideline was probably in the sun the whole time.
That's ridiculous.
Why do you think Tom Brady always come down here and lose?
Home field, baby, home field. And they always put those teams in the home uniforms. So the Dolphins wear white, and the Steelers got to wear black.
Is evil, just evil stuff going on for the Dolphins. Well, it's always a pleasure to have JT and the Don on the show. More so Don than JT, because I feel like JT comes on the show and he's always abusing a guy or a team that I like. So it is what it is. But fellas, please let everybody know where they can find you and all your content.
Hey, always great to be on. Thank you, Marcus, for having us. Everyone, you can find us on any platform you find all of your podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Google Podcasts, whatever it may be. And then also, please remember to follow us on Instagram. You can find us at JT and the Don. I always say this, and I will continue to say this. JT does a great job on Instagram. So check it out. Even if you don't end up following us, check it out anyway, because we think you'll like it.
It is good stuff. I guess that's the one good thing JT does is make sure
you sound like him. This
he's learning. The young guy's learning. I like it.
Oh my God, you've created a little Don clone. He even got the glasses like you too. Too bad you didn't get his height.
Oh man, I tell you what, I wish I was more like Marcus.
If he was 6'3", I would never be a guest on your show.
Yeah,
it's all
thank God. I don't even. He's 5 something. Thank God he's 5 something. It's tolerable.
God did not make me 6'3" for a reason, because my head would not fit in any doorways, man. If I was 6'3", I'd be like, "I'll move over, little guy, move over."
It's fun to do that sometimes. Just like,
see, isn't it? Man, I wish I knew the feeling.
When you're taller than people that's older than you, it feels good. Because it's like, yeah, you're older than me, but I'm looking down on you. It just feels good. It just feels good to do that. But
I wish I knew the feeling, man.
It's always a pleasure to have these guys on the show. Hopefully it won't be 2.5 months again before Don comes back. But
I'll try not to. I'm sorry.
I'm sure JT will be back in a month and a half by himself to crap on Aaron Rodgers or something.
No. You need to renegotiate my contract. I've heard some things I need to take to my my agent. So we will see.
You guys know where to find Go Talk with Marcus, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at GTP Marcus, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio for all of your listening and watching pleasure, I guess, if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the notification bell so you don't miss any new episodes. Tomorrow night, The Rundown with Peyton and Marcus goes live at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time with my guy Peyton of the Peyton Doyle Show. Then we'll be right back here next Wednesday to talk football. We skipped football this week because there was nothing important to talk about, and the NBA season is back, and basketball is more important right now. So there you go. So for JT and the Don of the JT and the Don All Sports Podcast, this is Marcus of Go Talk Marcus signing off. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, you guys enjoy the rest of your lives.